Hi guys, Trevor Swenson with Through the Darkness channel on PTSD, trauma and stressor disorder, unresolved trauma. And this morning, today, I would like to talk about a topic that has been specifically very helpful to me in my journey with PTSD and trauma and stressor disorder. And that is the question or the discussion of why. Why me? Why did this happen to me specifically? Why was I allowed to walk through this journey? And the further I go in my journey, I really wish I had changed my perspective on how I look at it. And at the time, I wasn't able to really put thoughts together as far as why what I'm going to talk about is valuable. But now that I'm at this point in the journey, which is by no means over, but is at a different point, I have found that the important question, rather than the why, is the what is going to come because of it. What is going to be revealed to you? How are your eyes going to be opened? What is it keeping you from or saving you from, even though you can't see or even imagine that question in the midst of struggling with PTSD? I'll use a very personal example for you. My battle with alcoholism. Alcoholism is a horrible thing to go through. It's a very scary thing. It's a little bit of a double negative when you're struggling with PTSD because for me, control was a trigger for me. And here I was as an alcoholic being controlled by a controlling substance. That's obviously not a good situation to be in by any stretch of the imagination. But there are some things that alcoholism brought out of me that I know would not have been brought out of me had I not been given the grace and the strength to be able to come out of it on the other side. When I look at what alcoholism showed me and taught me, a couple of the things that it showed is my physical will, my perseverance. If you want to talk to somebody that truly has overcome something in life, talk to somebody who's overcome addiction to anything. It is incredibly empowering to realize how strong your will actually is and always has been. So what did it teach me? Instead of why did I have to go through it and why did it happen to me, what did it teach me? I will tell you that it taught me a lot about myself. I will tell you that it opened my eyes to empathy, to people that are struggling, because rather than trying to figure out why they got themselves in a particular situation of chemical addiction, I found myself looking at people with a completely broken heart for them and a deep desire to help them and to encourage them. And when you think in the big picture of life, which one is more valuable? I would tell you that being prepared to help people, regardless of how difficult the path is to prepare you to help people, is the most honorable thing that can happen to you, is to be perfectly equipped and specifically equipped to help people in a very unique situation like alcoholism or addiction, just through encouragement and empathy, because you truly, as a recovering alcoholic, have been wherever they are at in their battle of overcoming, and you are standing before them as a living, breathing example that they can overcome, that they will overcome, because they're looking at somebody who is living proof that that is possible. So instead of beating myself up over the why, I needed to shift to what was it going to bring out of me or develop in me. I will tell you that it was very difficult on my marriage. It was very difficult on the relationships around me. It was very difficult on my kids. And in looking back, alcoholism, I feel, saved me from myself. And I feel like PTSD, in a weird way, has also saved me from myself, because it's very humbling. It can be humiliating. You realize that your purpose in life, who you were actually created to be, is what's most important. I realized that I was specifically made with a specific purpose, with specific talents and abilities in this life. And those are the things that are most important. And it all revolves around helping other people. There is no greater purpose than to utilize your gifts and your abilities to be able to reach out and help other people. And a lot of times those abilities to help other people come through your own trials, your own living hell, your own struggles, your own addictions, your own disappointments, your own losses, as I can tell you that all of those have happened to me through this journey with trauma and stressor disorder. One of the other things that I had my eyes open to as well is that almost without exception, in fact, I can't think of an exception, all of the what I would consider great people in my life, and I don't mean great like, hey, he's a great guy to hang out with. I mean the great people in my life. When you get to know them, almost without exception, they have a story that you haven't heard about adversity, about struggle, about loss, about trauma, about pain. And the difference in those people is that they didn't focus on the why. They focused on, what am I going to become for the better because of it? And I challenge you in your walk with unresolved trauma or trauma and stressor disorder or PTSD to ask yourself the same question. What is this going to bring out of me for the better? What is going to be chiseled and fine-tuned and refined and reveal in me to others that can be of encouragement and of use to others? It's incredibly important, and it's so incredibly easy to focus on the why. And you can spend hours, like I did, unfortunately, staring out a window for hours at a time through one period of my journey with PTSD. Hours. Why me? Why with a promising career? Why with the abilities that I was given? And the conclusion I came up with is that it wasn't about the why, it was the what was being brought out of me to the surface that was of so much greater value. None of your pain, none of your suffering, none of your struggles, none of your addictions will be wasted if you don't let them be wasted and you let them work out their purpose in you. We are all going to experience trauma. It doesn't make it any less painful to walk through. It didn't make alcoholism any less humbling or any less painful or any less scary to walk through. but it changed my perspective as to the purpose behind it. There were some things that needed to change inside of me for the better to even be able to do this today as an example, as a clear thinking, not hungover mind that it is as available as I can be mentally for other people with a much softer heart and a much different view on addictions and towards people that are hurting and are struggling. So just a quick tip and technique and way of looking at things that I wanted to share with you today that helped me. Don't waste time focusing on the why, because you could spend the rest of your life trying to figure that out with no rest for your soul. But figure out the what is going to be better because of it. What part of your eyes and your mind is going to be opened? What were you saved from? Who are you going to become because of it? It is the what that is more important, exponentially more important than the why. I want to invite you to click subscribe. I want to invite you to forward this to somebody that might be struggling with the why in their life. And I will tell you that one of the challenging parts of the why is that when you're processing it in the middle of the trauma or the crisis or the addiction, it's very difficult to think about. But I will tell you in hindsight that it is well worth overcoming. It is well worth persevering. It is well worth putting one foot in front of the other. It is well worth taking that difficult but incredibly powerful first step. And I challenge you to do that today if that's where you're at in your battle, wherever you might be. This is Trevor Swenson with PTSD Through the Darkness. Always remember, we are moving through the darkness. We are not standing in the darkness. We are not laying down in the darkness. We are not quitting in the darkness. We are simply moving through it. And I pray for you specifically that on the other side, you will be able to see with a new set of eyes and a softer heart, specifically the things that have been changed for the better in spite of what you have walked through. And I guarantee you it will have something to do with helping other people. Can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for being with me.